There is a town in the flatlands, not famous enough to appear on any tourist map, but alive enough that people are born there, fall in love there, grow old there, and die still believing it is the center of the world. Its name is Toruba. Toruba had a market, a church, a mosque, a school with a leaking roof, and one man who seemed to hold all of it together. His name was Chief Malachy Osei. Chief Osei was not a traditional chief in the old sense. He had no royal lineage. But he had something more powerful in the modern world: he had connections. He knew the government officials in the capital. He knew which forms to fill, which offices to visit, which palms to press money into. He was the man you went to when your land papers were missing, when your child needed a scholarship, when the hospital needed new equipment, when a road needed fixing. And he delivered. Not always, not fully, but enough. Enough to be celebrated. Enough to be trusted. Enough that when elections came, the whole of Toruba voted for his preferred candidate without asking why. The people of Toruba said, "Without Chief Osei, who will speak for us in the capital?" And so they stayed close to him. They brought him gifts at Christmas. They named their children after him. They defended him at every table where his name was questioned. There was only one person in Toruba who was not so sure. Her name was Adaeze. Adaeze was a secondary school teacher, young, sharp-tongued, and stubbornly unimpressed by men with big cars and bigger handshakes. She had grown up in Toruba, left for university, and returned because her mother was sick and her roots ran deep. She noticed things. She noticed that the new borehole Chief Osei commissioned was built on land he quietly purchased 6 months before the government contract was announced. She noticed that the scholarship he arranged for young men from the town always seemed to go to boys from families who had supported him publicly. She noticed that businesses that did not display his campaign posters during election season mysteriously failed their health and safety inspections the following month. She mentioned these things, carefully, quietly, to her colleagues in the staff room. They looked at her the way people look at someone who has brought a spider to a dinner table. "Adaeze, don't be ungrateful," said one. "Before Chief Osei, we had nothing." "Before him," said another, "the government forgot we existed." An older teacher named Mr. Fifi shook his head slowly and said, "The one who carries you on his back decides where you are going. Have you ever thought about that?" Adaeze had. She thought about it constantly. As the old people say, the tree that grows in the shadow of a bigger tree never reaches the sun. The breaking point came when the government announced a new program, a direct community development fund. Every registered community in the country could apply. The money would bypass local power brokers entirely and go straight to a community committee. It was, for a town like Toruba, a rare and genuine opportunity. Adaeze went to the town hall meeting buzzing with excitement. She had already drafted the proposal. She had researched the application process. She stayed up 3 nights preparing. But Chief Osei spoke first. Calmly, authoritatively, in that voice of his that sounded like a closing door, he told the community, "I have already spoken to my contacts in the capital. I will handle this fund personally. These government direct applications are full of bureaucratic traps. You will lose the money in paperwork. Leave it to me." The room nodded. Relieved. Grateful even. Adaeze stood up. "Chief," she said, and the room went very still. "With respect, the whole purpose of this fund is that it does not pass through any individual. It is designed for a community committee. If you handle it personally, Toruba will be disqualified." Chief Osei smiled, the practiced patient smile of a man who has handled far more difficult opponents than a schoolteacher. "Adaeze," he said, "you are young. You are intelligent. But intelligence without experience is a river without a bank. It floods everything and waters nothing." The room laughed. Warm, relieved laughter. And the community fund, the first real money that could have been entirely theirs, was handed over to Chief Osei to manage. It never arrived. 18 months later, the capital's records showed Toruba's application had been submitted under a different account to a contractor registered in Chief Osei's nephew's name. By the time anyone understood what had happened, the audit window had closed. Adaeze did not rage publicly. She did not call names in the market square. She did something quieter and more dangerous to men like Chief Osei. She organized. Every Saturday morning, in the back room of her mother's compound, she gathered 8 people, a nurse, 2 young traders, a retired civil servant, a woman who ran a savings cooperative, and 3 former students. They called themselves nothing. They had no banner, no slogan. They simply started learning how to read government budgets, how to file freedom of information requests, how to register a community committee properly, how to apply directly for the next funding cycle. One of the young traders said to her, "Adaeze, are you not afraid? Chief Osei is a powerful man." She thought for a moment and said, "I was afraid of him for years. But then I realized, the whole town's fear is what makes him powerful. He does not have power. He has our fear. And fear is the only thing I can choose to stop giving him." As the ancestors knew, a river that does not know its own strength will always be dammed by the first man with a stone. The next funding cycle came 2 years later. This time, the Toruba Community Development Committee, properly registered, independently chaired, with Adaeze as secretary, submitted the application themselves. Chief Osei called a town meeting to denounce them. He said they were dividing the community. He said they were being used by political enemies. He said they were children playing at adults' tables. Some people believed him. Old loyalties run deep, and gratitude, even misplaced gratitude, is a powerful chain. But enough people had watched the last fund disappear. Enough people had sat in those Saturday morning meetings. Enough people had learned, slowly and painfully, the difference between a man who empowers his community and a man who makes himself the community's only door. The application succeeded. The money came, directly, transparently, into an account with 3 signatories, none of whom was Chief Osei. Toruba built its first fully equipped health post. It repaired the school roof that had been leaking for 11 years. It paved the market road that turned to mud every rainy season. And for the first time in a generation, when something good happened in Toruba, nobody had to go and thank one man for it. Old Mr. Fifi, the teacher who had warned Adaeze years before, sat with her one evening on the steps of the new health post, watching the last of the workers pack up their tools. He said, quietly, "You know, Chief Osei never hated this town. In his way, he probably even loved it. But he loved it the way a man loves something he owns. And that kind of love always ends the same way." Adaeze nodded. "The people feared the politicians in the capital," she said. "But it was the man standing between them and the capital who consumed them most. The elders say, the sheep will spend its entire life fearing the wolf, only to be eaten by the shepherd. In every generation, in every town, in every office, in every community, there is a shepherd. He sings. He protects. He makes himself the only door between you and the world. And the question is never whether the wolf is real. The wolf is always real. The question is, who benefits from your fear of it? Find the others. Learn the process. Become your own door. Because the moment a community no longer needs one man to speak for it, that is the moment it is truly free. Like and subscribe.